Everybody out there in podcast land, this is G-Man in the Matterhorn Studios with the beautiful Kel. How you doing today, sweetie? Hanging in there? Oh my gosh.
Life is life.
I just even hate to say this, but for everybody that's listening, I mean, she's got some water heater stuff going on again. I don't know the brand name or anything like that. Throw them under the bus, do some sort of.
It's not the water heater's issue. It's not the water heater's problem. It's living in a building that wasn't built very well 70 years ago. 80 years ago, 60 years ago.
I just hate that you took a cold shower before you came here.
Well, at least I took a shower.
You know what? You're not the first woman that took a cold shower before she had to come see me. Goodness, where is that at? Yeah, I've got something. Oh, but there's still going on there. Gosh dang it. Oh no, I got it right here. It's like, yeah. Yeah, see, it's on the standby. I'm not, I'm not on my game today yet. But hey, welcome to the show today, episode 37 with What's the Matter with Coliseums? As promised, we're going to talk about why humans love spectacle, violence, and this us versus them type of mantra. So all the way from Gladiators, Kel, to UFC today. We just had the Super Bowl. I tell you what, as a former football player, there is not a rougher game out there than hockey. I just give, if you've ever been to a professional hockey game,
oh heck yeah,
it is next level. And probably number 2 is rugby, tell you the truth. And then of course we'll talk about a little viral outrage, things that from a kind of a spectacle standpoint. And we do have a special guest in the audience again. Let's give it up for Mr. Art Arreola.
G-Man, Cal, so good to be back in the studios.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's been a good trip. Art came up for the Super Bowl. We kind of traipsed around with. We can get what the Cal. That's Art's invention there. I said we're going to use that. I'm going to use that on the show. So yeah, Cal flaked out on us. Forgot about the Super Bowl. Like goodness gracious. You know what? That's proof when she says, I really don't care about the game. She's not a big sportsy type of person.
No,
early missed.
Did I?
Yeah.
We missed.
Yeah. We had to finish. We had to finish quesadillas without you. It was a struggle.
Damn, I love quesadillas.
And one of your favorite places are.
I know. I was just
shout out
after these last couple of weeks and not really caring about the teams.
Yeah, and the game too. It was kind of it wasn't a surprise how it turned out, but truthfully, from an entertainment standpoint, it's kind of a dud.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a little defensive struggle and stuff like that. But you have to tip the hat to Sam Darnold in the playoffs. No interceptions.
Seattle's year to win.
No interceptions, which was not what he's known for. He's known for a little bit of choke, but. Yeah, so we got through that. And but hey, first and foremost, before I forget, I want to make sure that we give shout outs to our sponsors, World Matters Incorporated, of course, allowing us to have our show here in the Matterhorn Studios, also creator and producer of the show, Big Bongo Productions. And if you are in the Reno Tahoe area, driving around, and you like that old school feel, you want to go on the radio dial, or if you are here local, definitely tune in to KPGF 93.7. They got a great suite of shows and, a good variety that you'll be able to find something that you like. So, guys, in this first block here, let's kind of open the conversation and setting, again, the contrast is like, so I guess the best thing where there's the Pantheon, is that how you say that?
Pantheon,
the Pantheon, or that's what she's here for. She has my back. The Pantheon or the Coliseum. Those types of things.
Oh, the Parthenon.
Parthenon. Did I say that first?
The building is the Parthenon.
Okay.
But yeah, Pantheon is like it's like a thing. It's like a happening.
Now we're talking Greek.
If you're talking
Greek structures,
Parthenon.
Okay, so I got it right.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo! I should do that applause again. It happens every once in a while. So the Parthenon or the Coliseum, basically these ancient Coliseums versus our modern arenas, like we just talked about the Super Bowl, of course, Levi Stadium, UFC, things like that. So we're kind of contrast those, and we'll have some fun as we normally do. Now, Kel has a hard out today at 5:30. So normally we go between 90 and 120 minutes. So if we cut it short, you guys are used to a little bit longer. Forgiveness, but that's just the way that it is. She has to get some hot water going somehow, some way.
No, actually, I'm going to a movie premiere. Oh,
right?
Yeah,
that's right. She has. So now here's a open-ended question. Not for, let's see, just rhetorical. Are we evolving? We were talking about evolution last week, right? So are we evolving, or did we just swap sand for stadium seats? I like that. They would just swap sand for stadium seats, and then we're calling it progress, right? So in some no-brainer ways, you can call it progress from a barbarian standpoint and, kind of human abuse. We can talk like that. That's gotten better. But to kind of introduce the hook today, let's first talk about the spectacle, right? Because I think about when UFC started. It's amazing how some of the most brutal fights in UFC actually occur with the females. It's like, as far as getting bloodied, like as a viewer, just like, oh my gosh, will somebody fall down, give up, or somebody stop the fight? Because it's a little bit, kind of grotesque. There are some people when it gets to like that, they won't watch. They'll just turn it off. They'll leave the room and things like that. But back to the spectacle. Both of you guys comment, maybe take about 60 seconds. Give us your opinion on why spectacle hooks us humans. Kel, you go first.
It's a biophysiological thing. It's pure how we're built. It's how our bodies are born to react to this stuff. So, and they, quote unquote, they have figured that out and now just can program the formula. Yeah, spectacle, of course. I mean, it's a process. It's a physiological, neurophysiological process that hooks us. Dopamine.
What do you think about that, Art?
What came to my mind is that as we saw in Western Civ, as civilizations advanced, they had more time in between wars, and they wanted to do something and yet reflect exactly what you're saying, Cal. Competition, brute against brute, sport, entertainment. But the function was that you're advancing and you have time, and therefore you create theater.
And you're kind of like, in a way, I'm sure it was probably a considered opponent or component that there's a built-in training, right? As far as the best army and being able to, consistency. And if you always have your life on the line and you're doing that for entertainment, then you're probably definitely more prepared when your life is truly on the line and it's for life or death matter.
Oh, absolutely.
So, okay. So next question, open-ended. What does watching a spectacle, even by today's standards, what does that do to our mind? You mentioned dopamine right before we transitioned to art.
Dopamine, adrenaline, norepinephrine, it's cortisol, it's the whole fighter. It induces the whole fight or flight loop. Mm-hmm. And that creates emotions in us that are then our reaction. Usually in cases like that, excitement.
Is it a great case of safely living vicariously through others?
In a way, yeah.
Okay. Art, what do you think where's the line between sport and entertainment? Those two, and brutality. What is that line nowadays?
I don't know that there is a clearly defined line, because if there is, it's blurred. But today, what we're having is more and more rules of engagement to protect the business. Quarterbacks the business. And it's not because they care about it. Of course they do. But the line between those two, it's a great question.
Yeah, because like fan attendance, if the quarterbacks keep going down, not as many people are going to go watch the second or third team quarterback, especially if the season's gone and they're not going to.
Like every line in those situations, they always want to push it to the limit. How close can we get to being barbaric, but yet be civil, if you will? No, good question.
Okay. Well, and again,
or how much will people let us get away with is really what it comes down to. That's the point we're at now, I think, as a society is, we're the 99%, folks. Why are we still putting up with this shit?
Yeah.
We are the ones that drive this. We don't have to be, led around by bits and bytes all day long.
So just to remind everybody, Art, of course, is here. He is the host of the Roundtable Pod. I don't know why he couldn't get those words out. Those are the Roundtable Pod, but he's, as Kel, is here to kind of bring a life coaching lens on the conversation. And he's really good at, kind of different things and what it says about us, what triggers us, how to stay grounded, stuff like that. He's really, really good at things like that.
Thanks.
So let's see. So Coliseum. So there's that old phrase, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? And so
is what that means.
So as far as the Coliseum goes, and as far as the spectacles that are created for us, this is not just when in Rome, even though that's where things kind of got started, right? Especially when it's a profitable concept, to your point.
Yes.
And so let's talk about the first comparison, modern day, what we're dealing with today. And I have to say, I'm a fan. I have to, as a kind of a conceptual warrior, I guess, because I'm not getting in the ring. I don't know, for $1 million, I was just like, hey, I'm just telling you guys, I'm going to lose, but I'll get in there because it's for $1 million. So I would do that for that. But outside of that, I'm not going to try to build a resume. Never, we came from the Central Valley, there's scraps and stuff when we grew up and stuff. But as far as like making this my living, Raging Bull, Muhammad Ali, type of thing, I'm just not that guy. But when I watch it as a spectacle, what we do is we sit there, Kel, and we imagine like
fantasy.
As like, man, to be a badass like that, good punch. Oh, he took a hit right there. And, these different things that we give them respect. But as far as the brutality, the lines of brutality, and not just sport and entertainment too. I like to remind you guys, I don't know if it's true. Kel could probably confirm this, but like say in a music event, like, those guys slay their guitars, right? As far as brutality. But what about the brutality, Ozzy, or, rest in peace, Ozzy, biting the head off a bat? Now that according to, I think what I read, that was not planned.
It was not. That was a mistake. He even said he was horrified by that.
Yeah, and so, wow. But could you imagine being in the front row? Right after.
The front row in front of him.
Right after. You did?
Concert. Oh, no. But I've seen Black Sabbath on the front row.
Okay.
And I thought about that. I thought, no, I'm not ready for that.
No, he wasn't either.
Something else.
He was lucky he was under the influence at the time. Otherwise, it could have been really.
We all understand shock value, and
absolutely.
But that's.
So what we saw is, so I guess probably maybe considered one of the toughest sports, if not the toughest sports, before USC was boxing, right? And you're doing it with the glove. You're in the ring, mano a mano. And then comes UFC. I remember with my son, Corey, who's 38 years old now. So he's like 17 years old when this stuff. So that's how long it's been going on. That show that they had, the qualifier or something like that. I can't remember what the name was. But in the beginning, especially, it was fascinating because, again, there were rules, but not like boxing. You could like choke somebody out. That was against boxing rules. You couldn't choke in boxing. Right. You still can't choke in boxing, right? So anyway, fascinating stuff.
Gloves.
And now we have, 20 plus years later, the popularity of the sport. There's going to be a UFC event at the White House, for the 250th anniversary, I know. But talk about spectacle, Kel.
And spectacle by the biggest clown we have.
Right. And so controlled violence from UFC. You guys talk about that, kind of like, I kind of know what Kel's going to say, but let me phrase a question to you like this. Now you are a strong woman, strong, intelligent woman, and you can take care of yourself. We talked about you walking down an alley and somebody trying to jack you.
I used to walk around Midtown Manhattan in prom attire at 4 in the morning. By myself.
On purpose?
On purpose. Back in the metal days. Yeah, that's what we did. Big hair, big dresses, the whole thing. And people would cross the street to not walk past me. I had that much presence. I had that much of a don't fuck with me vibe.
I love it. I love it. Well, let me ask you this. So when you, again, like when you saw a fight, you've seen street fights, right?
Not a whole lot.
No? Have you been to one?
No. Oh gosh, no.
So where are you at with it as far as like the virility of an alpha male, and you see two guys just get down, and you're like, oh damn, is it something that turns your head?
Well, I'm a physical empath, so yeah, I can't watch people get hurt.
Right.
But it would angers me first, like what the fuck are you, just talk it out. What is going on? Why did it come down to this?
Right.
Why did you get,
normally it's a woman.
Which is even, to me, like, when you get to that point, you've gotten to the lowest common denominator. Like,
that's true. There's no doubt about it.
You've gone beyond personal insults. You've gone beyond F you. You've gone beyond, like at that point, you're just a ball of adrenaline. Like you have no more human response in
So
you.
no street fighting with you. Now, what about the science? You know, they used to call boxing the sweet science, right? Because it is very, very technical. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And with the rules, there's only so many ways that you could actually strike an opponent, right? Scoring points or knocking somebody out. And now, again, there are still rules. But it just, I think, of course, Art and everybody.
More like guidelines.
It's just more brutal. Let's put it that way. I mean, you can get knees to the face. You can't do that in boxing. I mean, it's just you could swing your elbow, into him and stuff like that.
Sure.
And there's still no kicking in the scrotum and stuff. But that still happens. And so, but from a professional type of spectacle, where are you at with UFC?
It's not my thing. I mean, if dudes want to kick the shit out of each other, that's fine with me. Whatever.
Would you ever want to be a ring announcer?
No. None of that.
Oh my goodness.
Because to me, again, like dudes that feel the need to do that are just base level. They're driven by testosterone.
Yeah.
They're low level. They're low evolved. They're not usually your higher thinker.
I did not expect this. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anybody who
somebody that's like the Epstein of boxing, right? And I was like, I don't know that there's, and like, who is like the most intelligent UFC fighter? That would be a good question to find out.
That is a good question.
Like, who's got the highest intelligence?
Yeah.
And then they should get an extra bonus if they maintain.
Like McGregor.
That, like The Rock, they've come out of that.
Yeah.
Out of it. There is one thing. Still, I mean, even worse. I mean, that fake thing that,
Yeah. Kel, you're on a roll. You're going to get all these people from the fan club, saying, like, right. Who are you?
Cold showers paying off.
Well, the fact that people bought into, like, people thought wrestling was actually real.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
like different kind of religion. So now, what do you guys think about this? So let's switch from UFC and still keep it in the Coliseum, and let's talk about the tribal identity amongst sports fans. Okay, because that gets pretty crazy, sometimes even to the points again that committing illegal acts against other people because they're on the other team, and so that is, to me is pretty. It doesn't even stay under fanatical, even though there's a play on word.
Yeah.
So talk about, again, your take on people that are religious about sports. There's no other way, I guess, to get around that statement.
Again,
tribal identity.
Yeah, it's a low level place to be. People who are like big into sports, and it's one thing if you do sports that, where you're challenging your body and you're doing the work and you've got the routine and the discipline to, whatever. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
you're the gladiator in the arena.
Yeah. Actual athletes are awesome. The people that sit around and are like, my guy, my team, we won, and I'm guilty as the next guy, but
well, you're talking about when you're in the stands and you're cheering on a team, you're winning Rome, do as the Roman.
Absolutely. I mean, believe me, I grew up a lifelong diehard Steelers, Eagles, Raiders, and Saints fan. And, I mean, my God, my dad worked for US Steel. I did. I felt like I owned part of the place, Right. So there was, you get that very personal sense, but, I never claimed, like any kind of.
You never formed it to your identity.
No, gosh.
Or your self-worth and things like that, a lot of things. So let's talk about this Art, who, of course, knows about parties because he grew up in a location in the Central Valley where at a very young age, you'd learn about keggers. And there's a lot of country, for us to find hiding places.
We had woods parties
as teenagers and stuff like that. So, I mean, that was a rite of passage, where we grew up. So let's talk about the ritual that sports fans from the tribal identity go through, and that's tailgate parties. So now, that's right. So, but why are those so important when you've got people getting drunk, slamming on tables in Buffalo, and all that stuff that goes along with it? And every once in a while, people do get out of hand, and then you got these fracases,
but rarely
stuff like that.
I mean, it's a safe place to let loose.
Yeah, not in Oakland.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. but for the most part.
Yeah.
Tailgating is just, it's the foreplay.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it.
I like that.
It's, pregame. It's like, you're like getting ready. You're getting the adrenaline going.
Yeah.
You're getting the excitement. Yeah. Are we going to win? Who's going to win? What's going to happen?
So now you look like you like tailgate parties.
I love tailgate.
See,
We went all out.
Sometimes I enjoy the tailgate party
More than the game.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely. There were many times the party was more fun than the game.
And there's the post-game tailgate party where you have to sober up. You got to sober up,
Or go to the bar.
Yeah, back in the day though, we didn't have
games. We literally tailgated at Eagle Stadium, and
that's a big thing.
It was huge. It was such a big thing back then. That was the heyday of that kind of thing in the 70s. And I was a little girl, so to me it was. All these guys around and tossing footballs and cooking and doing the thing.
So you're smiling again.
It was
so you do like sports.
I did. I used to have great experiences with it. And up until
probably you like sports until like egos go out of control. Or they're like too much a part of this.
Now, like the whole thing, like I know too much about it all now. Like I know it's all corrupt. I know it's all pre-rigged. I know it's all, weighted on who bets how and how the sports bets are going and the fantasy team. Like there's way too much manipulation going on with it now.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
And
it's not the way it used to be. That's for sure.
Having grown up through the era where it had integrity,
it was pure,
and it was pure. To this. I can barely watch games anymore.
I know. I feel you. Now, what about this? You mentioned the dopamine thing before. And so as far as the Coliseum, what it's all about and stuff like that, let's kind of, again, don't get too conspiratorial here, but let's talk about the fact of, again, back in the day, back in the Coliseum days, they would say, give them, the circuses.
Bread and circus.
Circus, stuff like that. So there's been many comments I've heard over the years of that parallel. Of don't pay attention to the man behind the mirror. And now you have all these sports leagues and stuff like that, that keep our attention, from the things that the man behind the mirror is doing. So do you guys want to comment on that a little bit? Is there any kind of reality or is that too conspiratorial?
Oh, God, no.
It's
proven fact.
We don't always like to talk about it, but I think
no, but absolutely. I mean, when they started to put financial incentives into college football, and you can get into college from high school without a grade point average and go to no classes and graduate and get into the pros. I mean,
not just that. As the thing is that. I guess the plausible argument and the one that makes sense to a lot of people, not saying that the system that they put in place, was the ultimate solution, but I can remember it was an easy, like on top of classes, all the practice, of course, not just the game, the travel, the game, the preparation, the weightlifting, even before practice, after practice and all that stuff. I mean, easily 20 hours on top, right? And then not so much with your JUCOs and your D1s and 2s, but once your D2s and 3s, but once you get to your D1s, especially the big, huge national programs and stuff like that, these are the entities that fund all of the Title IX programs and allow, the female sports that don't get the ticket sales. That's the bottom line. And so now those guys, you do not get on that field without being the creme de la creme. And knowing the type of time commitment, sacrifice, risk of injury, and things like that, I think any sensible person would say, since you guys over there in the NCAA are making millions upon millions of dollars and probably billions upon billions of dollars over time, okay, it's time to kick down to the slaves a little bit, not to misuse that term. But I'm just saying that the people that actually bring in the ticket sales are not the coaches. And it's not the supreme executives on the NCAA board and stuff like that. So they deserve something. Maybe not being able to bastardize and get the endorsements and stuff.
I highly disagree. And I think just having that kind of profit-driven incentive in the school, in the structure of the organization itself, where you even have to consider that you should, maybe we should pay the kids too. Because they're the ones doing all this.
What are you disagreeing with?
What I'm disagreeing with is the amount of money that the whole thing drives. Like the fact that it should not be profit driven in school.
Yeah, but that's, again, I see your point, but I'm talking about working under the reality of what is here and what's going to stay. I'm not talking about, you know what I mean? What Kel's is solution.
World,
I'm talking about like this is the reality. It's a part-time job that they help them make millions and millions, right? And right now they're saying, hey, you get to use the facilities. Maybe you get drafted by the NFL.
Yeah,
we're going to give you this.
I see what you're saying.
Give you this piece of paper that after you're not going to be able to really make shit with anymore.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
So you're right.
So there's something there. So my solution would be that, whatever the program, if it's Alabama and you're part of a program, you made the cut on the team and stuff like that, and you're like one of the 11 starters, or you're in the rotation, you see time on the field or something like that, base it on percentages.
Right.
Based on percentages of time on the field based on the revenue that's brought in for that program.
Sure.
Something like that.
Absolutely. But no endorsements.
But they deserve something.
Stadium deals and sponsorships and all that corporate. None of that.
I agree.
Because that shit. It should all be organic.
Because that has muddied the water. Okay, so let's move on. We want to eventually kind of weave in a little bit of
what's the actual topic? What's the matter with
Coliseums? Yeah, what's the matter with Coliseums? And then so we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the dehumanization, let's put it that way, that's been part of our history back in the days of the Coliseum and now in our modern day Coliseums. We'll kind of table that. Hopefully we'll be able to come back around to that. And so art has, as far as like hitting other people, now again, I know you grew up, but I don't ever remember like, hey, did you ever hear, did you hear about the fight with Art Arreola and so? I never remember you being like a troublemaker or anything like that, right? But he has, I can tell you for a fact, he has hit people. Okay, he has hit people with baseballs. Okay, because he didn't snap the curveball off just quite enough, and he beamed people every once in a while, not very. Right. I think when he did it, he had such good control with the baseball that when he did hit people, it was on purpose. So he didn't, and like maybe kissed his girlfriend or something. I don't know. But on football, the guy used to wear a nice bullhorn neck roll, and hit people as a linebacker and stuff like that. But let me ask you this, Art. This is all to give you your athletic due. But why do humans pay to watch other humans get hit?
Sports is an art. It's an art. It's just
pun intended or not.
Okay. When we talk about the good old days, it's just an art. It's just in human form. And we, as a Western every civilization has its own art that we see. But today, it's become a business.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's far more business than it is art. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think we lose the value. When we think of the old days, we thought of the art and those great Green Bay Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was
Herm Edwards. You talking about
Landry? No.
Now, what happens psychologically? I think it may be the 12th man. Or again, if you've been in an arena like that, where I've been in.
I want to say something too. Like. You're right. It's an art form, but I also think, like, why do we pay other people? Pay people to watch other people hit themselves or hit each other? It's a vicarious thing. Mm-hmm. I think there's multiple things going on there. I think it's we have that.
There's no doubt about it.
I would love to be able to be in that position.
No doubt about it.
I wish I had that physique, athleticism, ability.
I guarantee you hit a home run right there, because that's, again, what some of us love about football is because you have the legal ability to knock the shit out of somebody else.
Right.
And if you had a bad day, or if you're just like hating life or stuff like that, it is a great outlet of aggression. I'm telling you, that is
no question.
That is so
Absolutely.
true.
Well, it's like in Greece when the secretary talks about, you can even see her getting into it where they're up and tear them up, and it's just we all have that aggression, and very few of us get to express it appropriately.
Well, and when you come from a position of scarcity, again, I can relate a little bit to using sports to get out of where I was growing up. Right, that was my exit strategy, and you will do literally anything if you're desperate enough. And football is a crazy game, and sometimes that's what happens. So moving on from that, this is a fun question: what's happening psychologically when a crowd becomes one organism, right? So making it more difficult for the team to operate. When the team screws up, the team feels
that is
did
very
that.
real.
You see what oh yeah,
that energy.
Right? Yeah.
I've been a part of that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, right.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, and especially it is fascinating. It is fascinating.
Like when you
just we screwed up their play because they couldn't communicate or whatever. You feel like you're part of the team.
You really did. Well, that's like you started to say, the whole 12th man thing. And when you're in the situation where everybody's on the same page, like you're looking at each, you're like, you just know, and it works. You're like, my God, like that feeling is amazing.
I love seeing you get all excited when you don't even like sports.
Well, I mean, even in high school, because I was in high school band, I was a total bando, so I had to go to every game. But even then, you know, like we never gave a shit about the game, but sometimes we'd get in that situation where it was that close and it was that rival team and we hated them, and we would look at each other and we would either stand up or play something or scream or whatever, and we knew exactly what to do without ever having planned a thing.
You guys were trained. Oh man, it's that time. So we're talking about Coliseums, laughing crickets. Make sure that we got everything set up here. So we're talking about Coliseums today, and we're talking about cultures and different things like that. So some of these jokes we'll check them out with Art and Kel here. So let's start where it all began. Over around Rome, Italy, the Mediterranean, stuff like that. Because this Greek and an Italian, they're sitting down one day, and just like we're doing here, they're debating. And what they're debating on was who had the superior culture, kind of like who had the superior team, type of thing. So the Greek starts off and he says, well, we have the Parthenon. And then the Italian responds with, well, we have the Coliseum. And then the Greek says, well, we had great mathematicians. And then the Italian responds, man, we had the Roman Empire. And then so the two are just going on and so on and so on. And then finally, the Greek says, we invented sex. And then the Italian responds with, that is true. But it was the Italians who introduced it to women. That's a winner. That's a winner.
Funny.
That is what this is all about, people. Kel's idea of taking what we're talking about and figuring out a way to make fun of it.
That is hilarious.
Now, one of the other things is, I don't know if we're going to go back to Rome or Italy or anything like that, but another thing is one of Kel's pet peeves and mine too, especially like we coached for a very long time, Art, and I know you would agree that one of the worst things with youth sports are the parents. The parents who thinks little Johnny's playing for the Super Bowl, right? So that's our frame, for this next one. So we're at a little Pop Warner game or whatever. It's youth football. So at one point during the game, coach calls one of his little 8-year-old football players aside and he says, hey, do you understand what cooperation is? What a team is? And the little boy just kind of nods in the affirmative. Do you understand what matters is not whether we win or lose, but how we play together as a team? Little boy nodded. Yeah. So coach says, I'm sure you know when a penalty is called, you shouldn't argue, curse, attack the referee, or call him a peckerhead. Do you understand all that? Again, the little boy nodded. And when I call you off the field so that another boy gets a chance to play, it's not good sportsmanship to call your coach a dumb asshole, is it? And again, the little boy nodded. Coach is just like, no, good. Now go over there and explain all that to your mother. Okay. All right. I don't know if you guys will like this one. So this guy, he found this used football in a secondhand store. He picks it up and he takes it to the counter. How much is this? The guy at the counter, the owner says, that'll be $5. Would you like for me to pump it up for you? And then the guy's like, of course. Yeah, thanks a lot. So he got a small pump from under the counter. A few seconds, the ball was boom, good as new. Okay, all done. Owner says, now that'll be $10, please. The guy's like, $10? I thought you said it's $5. And the guy says, yeah, sorry, inflation. Kind of a dad joke. All right. I don't know. This is This is all about Kel, though. You know, she didn't laugh. She didn't like that one. She doesn't like inflation. All right. Now, you know what else she doesn't like? Art, this is the last one. She does not like stereotypes. But it's not done all the time, but there's a little pattern. I mean, they're just classic, right? The blonde jokes. You know, so I loaded up another blonde joke. And she's not, you know, those that don't know, Kel's not even blonde. You know, she's a brunette.
I'm a fake redhead.
You know, so all right. Now you'll like this though, because we're talking about stadiums. Okay, so 80,000 blondes meet in a football stadium. They're there for a convention. Kel, you like conventions. Mm-hmm. You know what the convention was? It was the Blondes Are Not Stupid convention.
Okay.
Yeah, right. You know, 80,000 of them that are there for the We Are Not Stupid convention. So the MC says, we are all here today. I should do, hold on. Let's do some, there it is. Free stuff. Okay, I can do this. Okay.
We are all here today to prove to the world that blondes are not stupid. Can I have a volunteer?
And then a blonde gingerly works her way through the crowd, steps up to the stage, and the leader asks her,
what is 15 plus 15?
Now, after about 15, 20 seconds, the blonde goes, 18. That's my female voice. I'm butchering it. Now, obviously, everyone's a little disappointed. You got 80,000 blondes that start cheering, give her another chance. Give her another chance. And so the leader says,
well, since we've gone to the trouble of getting 80,000 of you in one place, and we have the worldwide press and global broadcast media here, I guess we can give her another chance. Okay, young lady, what is 5 plus 5?
And then after nearly 30 seconds, she eventually says, 90? And the leader, he's quite perplexed. He's looking down just to get like this dejected sigh. And everybody is disheartened at this point. So the blonde starts crying, and the 80,000 girls begin to yell and wave their hands again, shouting, like, give her another chance. Give her another chance. So the leader, unsure, like, should I keep doing this? I may be doing more harm than good, Kel. You know, so eventually he's like,
okay, just one more chance. Okay, this is it. What is 2 plus 2?
The girl closes her eyes. After an entire minute, eventually she says, 4. Throughout the stadium, pandemonium breaks out as all 80,000 girls jump to their feet. They're waving their arms, stomping their feet, and they scream, give her another chance. Give her another chance.
Did not see that.
Right? Okay. That's enough torture for you guys. So we're talking about Coliseums today. We're talking about the then versus now. What's changed, what didn't. And so the ancient spectacle highlights of gladiators as entertainment. Now, Kel, have you seen the movie Gladiator?
I have not.
Swear to goodness gracious, this girl.
Got a lot to look forward to.
Woo! Hey, like how many times do I ask you if you've seen a movie and she says, no, I haven't.
It's a great.
Not me.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So is that Russell Crowe?
Yes.
It's Russell Crowe. And there was a Gladiator too. It wasn't Russell Crowe. Right? I think
there's a Gladiator.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, this is the thing. So I want to talk about back in the day. I want us to kind of flash back in our little time portals and stuff like that. And imagine what it would be like, Kel, if you were the secretary of a gentleman who's the general manager of the Coliseum. And you know that this, of course, there's thousands of people that are in the Coliseum when these things are going on, the chariot races, you know, gladiators fighting each other and things like that. And you know that it's the cost of entertainment, right? And so, but behind the scenes, you see that the owner and other senators and things like that behind the scenes, that they use it as a way to improve their status, right? Not only that, but we're talking about the army and training and stuff like that. It's also a way for them to maintain, gain and maintain control. Now, you, as the secretary of the general manager of this Coliseum, see this, and you are the same person that you are here. You have morals. You have this moral compass. And we talked about quiet quitting. But I want you to come up with a way that you would be able to quiet quit while revolting against this brutal, unjust way of treating and using other people. That's very eclectic. Yeah. I know it's unexpected. But what would you do?
And how are they being treated?
You're, just like you didn't
like any corporation.
You didn't see the movie, but just like you're talking about things being rigged, like kind of the premise of the movie is this one guy, Caesar, before he goes into battle, he stabs him, so there's this underhanded, type of, it's whatever Caesar says. That's why he's just like thumbs up or thumbs down. Sometimes he'll let the crowd choose. What should I do, with these people? So from a spectacle standpoint, the people think that they're involved, sometimes. And so I guess it's a difficult question, but it's very speculative and stuff like that. And it's a hypothetical, but I guess the being a strong woman, how would you deal with that situation being where men are totally in control? And that if you say anything or do anything, that it's probably not going to be good for you. Out. So at that point, would you kind of like splinter off and maybe become part of a different kind of revolting?
Probably. Probably try to start a group of like-minded, I'd find the other ones that see the same stuff I do and just start slowly kind of going, think about this. Oh, I don't agree with that either. What about this? What if we did this? What if, and just start kind of floating alternate, concepts.
What do you think about having public punishment as a message?
I'm in agreement with that.
Okay. What do you think, Art?
Sometimes I think we should bring back the stockades in the public square and
kind of shame.
Throw in tomatoes and shame. Yeah, absolutely. Shame is very powerful.
I agree. As long as it's used.
That's the thing. As long as it's used against the right people.
Now, I mentioned this a little bit, speaking in a, just again, a reminder how brutal things used to be. Not just, again, the Genghis Khan and, again, the Coliseum and kind of things that we're kind of hitting on a little bit. But back in, of course, the days of slaves, we know that a lot of the what is that?
I must have hit my
I thought it was a ringtone or something. I was like, that's kind of subtle. But back in the day, you would have, of course, masters that would have slaves fight each other to the death, and they would pay, they would make bets on which one is, I think that wasn't in Django. That was actually, a featured scene in Django and things like that. So talking about how, slavery, forced combat is a brutal reality. And I want the juxtaposition to be that we all love and appreciate our military, right? And appreciate what they do for us from protecting, our country and things like that, and in the world and different things. But the brutal reality also is that what they sign up for is that they can have a master tell them to go somewhere else, and then they're expected to do the same thing, fight to potentially the death. There's not as much boots on the ground as there used to be or anything like that. But from a comparative standpoint, can you guys comment on how some things just never change?
I think that's pretty clear. I mean, that's humanity.
From an evolutionary standpoint?
Biologically, we haven't changed much at all.
Because we're animals.
We're mammals.
Scientifically.
We're mammals. Not really. We're not.
Well, mammals are animals, though.
All mammals are animals. All animals are not mammals.
Yeah. I'm talking, where am I getting? Is this a Darwin hierarchy? That I learned that, that we're part of the animal kingdom. Humans are part of the animal kingdom.
No, that's first of all, Darwinian evolution has pretty much been blown out of the water anyway.
Right.
So that whole realm of science is being deeply examined right now. We were taught a lot of bullshit.
So you're saying that we aren't part of the animal kingdom?
We're not.
What
we are
we
not
then?
Animals. Humans are different. We share genetics, but we are different. We are a different genus. We are a different species.
So
that's absolute fact.
Yeah, we've been conditioned to think
category
because it keeps us under control.
From a categorical standpoint.
It's not true.
That's interesting. Thanks for that.
But we're not plants.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I am not an animal. I like it. All right. So we talked about the bread and circuses as a distraction. Here's a prompt. You guys go one at a time. So Cal, you go first. What does it do to a society when violence becomes normal entertainment?
Oh, it degrades it. No question. It will degrade it quickly, and it will continue to degrade. Once certain thresholds of behavior are crossed and become psychologically acceptable or accepted, it's downhill from there.
What do you think?
Because that's our base nature. Our base nature is violence. We as humans, our whole job in being here is to evolve out of that.
Yeah,
it's never going to change, but we need to evolve to a point where we make choices that don't devolve to it. It's always there. It's always an option. It's always, there's always going to be a certain level of it.
That's why you graded humans out. We only got 6.5 out of 10. How are we doing with evolution? 6.5. So what's your response to that? What does it do to a society when violence becomes normal entertainment?
It just reflects the society.
It's a projection.
It's a projection of exactly what Cal just said. And we're kind of prone to do that throughout history. If we lean violently and make it a sport, then we treat it like a sport and we don't realize how dehumanizing it is.
Yeah.
Things are going to, if women start to get violent, we're in trouble.
I agree with that.
We are the governors.
It goes against
on everything falling to complete shit. And the fact that there are very few women in the AI sphere and discussion is extremely dangerous and frightening to me.
Interesting.
There is a terrible echo chamber in that realm right now that if we don't interrupt it is going to get really ugly.
So just to kind of point out some kind of a modern spectacle parallel. So let's say if we categorize UFC with boxing, even what we're saying is that, okay, we're going to consent to this violence because it has rules, right? Even football or hockey, you have these, like, they're sanctioned collisions. That's like, there was this old saying that football is a contact sport, but it's a collision sport.
That's a good point.
Basketball's a contact sport.
That's a really good point.
Football is a collision sport, right?
That's
and
a
hockey,
good point.
Right? So those two. And again,
Boxing,
we've talked about kind of like your tribal loyalty. There's much more tribal loyalty to teams, organized team leagues, than, of course, like boxing, things like that.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, using this type of competition as entertainment is a pressure valve for society. I think it's a good thing if we can keep it at a level where it doesn't devolve into Coliseum-like violence, death. Exactly, where it's where it's having deleterious health effects on your body. But the spirit of competition in and of itself for humanity is a good thing because it's inspiring. It makes you see other levels you can get to. It's there's a lot of benefit to it if it stays at above a certain threshold.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it's that vicarious pressure valve for the rest of us. We get to watch these guys collide into each other on Sunday and Monday, and woohoo, and get points, and we can scream and yell and get our adrenaline up and out.
And that's how things got started, but then it eventually led to The Bachelor.
Yeah. Well,
or maybe Bachelorette, I should say.
Yeah, then you get into that.
So now what about this? So another way of spectacle, type of thing is social media outrage, right? And so you have these people that you can't see or know or all these different things, but you have these psychological fights for attention, right? Another one is, again, I talked to you and referenced this with one of our friends named Julie, who, we went to high school with her and stuff like that. And so there's like a spectacle thing. And this, I don't know if it's underground or whatever, but the whole true crime shows and things like that, where you have this shock media, like the thing that's going on right now. Oh my gosh, with Nancy Guthrie. We're like, oh my goodness gracious.
It's going to come out that the sister did it. Watch.
There's all kinds of things that could be happening, but yeah, that's something that's been hit on. But yeah, there's this kind of a form of fear, where you say, I can't imagine being in my home, sleeping, and then there's somebody at my bed, or I get tied and wrapped up and stuff like that. We see all this in movies and stuff like that. But the word surreal cannot explain what happened to this poor lady, right? And then we're finding out about it.
Do we have more details on what happened to her? Have they found?
No, not yet. Not yet. They did found a black glove.
If it
But
won't
anyway,
fit, you
but
must
like
commit.
we're doing here, right? When something like this does occasionally happen, I can't remember the name of in the 30s, the baby that was kidnapped. You know, these things
Oh.
happen from time to time.
The Lindbergh baby.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. And so when these things do happen, then we have this, it's hard to explain, but it's a fascination, you know, first of all, in a lot of different ways of how would we, you know, respond to this? You know what I mean?
Would we respond?
Yeah.
How would we act in the situation? What if we were the perpetrator? There's all kinds of psychology.
Oh, I'd be
that goes
like,
on
I'd be
with
like this, you know, to the kidnapper. Hey, you guys want some money? You didn't even know I'm broke. We're gonna have to do a GoFundMe or something. But anyway, not to, you know, joke around what's going on with this poor lady, but back to the true crime. These are things where we're not collectively in a stadium, but when you think about, again, just the entire connectivity that we have with the World Wide Web and, you know,
Sure.
having
the
everything.
broadcast arena.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of an online stadium.
Good point.
And so question for Art. What's the difference between healthy competition and bloodlust? Now, again, frame it around the brutal sports. Like what's the difference between healthy competition where afterwards, no matter what happens between the whistle or the timer, whatever, and then afterwards, you know,
Shake hands and go good fight.
Because there are, Ty Cobb comes to mind. Nobody liked him. Jack Tatum comes to mind. He was playing hard and paralyzed Darryl Stingley. But there are people that are truly barbaric and they compete and win, you know, because there is somewhat of a bloodlust, right? And so I guess the question is that if there was a competitor that had to cross that line, you know, between being a healthy competition and being after bloodlust, what is that line? Can we define that?
One is art and the other is violence. And they both appeal to human nature. That's why we watch those crime shows. It's kind of, you know, when Kel said something a little while ago, it just made me think of something when she mentioned AI. I hadn't realized, you know, the Coliseum was a virtual reality before we ever had virtual reality. That's why we feel so connected to it while it's happening too, you know, psychologically, emotionally, we're almost involved in the scene. And then a second thing occurred to me. It's a story. The game itself, the fight, it's a story. And we want to be a part of that
hero's
story.
journey.
I was there that day when that, you know, that pass happened or that hit or, you know, we love to be a part of history. And so there's
point two.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Absolutely.
And to me, you know, the difference between fair competition and bloodlust is when it gets personal. Between the fighters, when it's not just here's my opponent that I've trained to beat, it's I hate that guy.
But from a spectator standpoint, when that happens, when we know they hate each other, we as watchers love that even more.
We want to pick sides. We want to get in on absolutely
from the safety of our seat, of course.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, to the point where we got wrestling, where they created these false rivalries.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. It's not like we didn't have enough entertainment. Right. Speaking of entertainment, Kel, when does entertainment become emotional conditioning?
Very, very often. Much more so than anybody realizes.
Like, speak to that. What do you mean?
Music, movies, TV shows, every bit of that is portrayal. And we are mirrors by nature. So, I mean, we have mirror neurons, for fuck's sake. Yeah. So we are built to mirror and mimic and learn from what we see. And they know that.
Yep, absolutely.
So, I mean, now we have predictive programming where they will put something out there and then it happens and people go, oh, isn't it amazing? The Simpsons predicted that this would happen. No, bullshit. They're telling you what they're going to do.
Exactly.
Very good.
I love it. Hey, so here's one. This is kind of deep if you really think about it. So why do some people, and you guys take this wherever you want. Okay, so you're two life coaches here. So why do some people need a villain in their life?
Because they want to be the hero. You can't have a hero without the villain. And you can't be the hero if you are the villain.
Oh, I like that. Oh, that's mic drop.
That was excellent.
Thank you.
Art's going I agree with that. Let's move on.
Let's leave that.
Okay, now the tribe and identity lens, right? Just from an understanding, visual understanding, right? So you got your little equal sign. And you guys tell me if you agree, I'm just going to keep going. But if you disagree, stop me. Okay. So equal sign in the middle. So team equals identity.
It can.
Yes. So that's a yes.
Yeah.
So rival equals enemy.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Of course.
Win equals validation.
Uh-huh.
Right? Pretty on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now loss equals threat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, potentially.
Right. And now, as you can imagine, like all those things we're talking about, sports, competition, gladiator type of stuff, but you guys know that those could have went into a lot of different psychological life coaching type of realms.
Sure.
Just spinning off of how those dynamics, can kind of be part of a relationship, so to speak.
Well, if you think about that too, and what we talked about earlier, in between wars, losing is a major threat.
Yeah.
You know, when you
that's a
think
good
of the
point.
significance behind what really matters and what kind of sports can reflect on the battlefield.
Absolutely. So lightning round, I have to, there it is. I got it. All right. So if we'll give you guys, if you guys start going too long, you'll hear that. Okay. So wrap up your thought, but we'll, 30 to 60 seconds or something like that. So compare and contrast then and now, rapid hit this stuff, you guys. So gladiators back in the days of Rome versus UFC gladiators now. Who wants to take that one?
Money. I think sport in the past and art was done because whether they got paid or not.
Yeah. They may get a meal ticket in the gladiator days.
They got a name.
Security.
They got recognition. But the biggest difference today is definitely.
Good point. I like that. Yeah. Brutal lifestyle back then. Okay. Now we hit on this a little bit, Kel, so you take this one. So compare then and now, public executions. Okay. And compare that to current day viral cancellations.
Nice.
Right? Isn't that fun?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love making her smile.
That's an interesting contrast. They're similar in ways, clearly. I mean, obviously public execution.
Like what would be a good example? We know we had like the Cracker Barrel, Bud Light. That was a like they lost all like millions and millions and millions of dollars. That was a public execution versus
Being canceled.
a viral cancellation. I think I can come up with a better one than that. Public execution. I would probably equate a public execution equating to a viral cancellation, like when Kramer said the N-word, like in one of his comic things, right? Yeah. Things just haven't been the same. And so that's, I think, a more apt example of that. Oh, here's a fun one. So imagine back in the days of the Coliseum and we're going chariot races, right? Mm-hmm. So compare that to NASCAR.
I was going to say.
Right? And instead of car manufacturers, you have chariot manufacturers. What would be good names of the chariots as compared to cars of today? I'll offer one. And this is a G-Man original. Okay. The name of this model is Ben Hurry. Okay. But I can only imagine, just like you like a certain type of vehicle, motorcycle, whatever. So back in the day, it's a fun thought to say, the gladiators are all talking just like, oh, when'd you get that XP, whatever. Just again, something.
You have the A2 special.
Yeah. So, hey, have you ever tried the camel hump? Where's that made in? India.
Egypt.
All right. So let's see. Let's compare. This is a good one. So compare rapid fire then versus now. The roar of the arena when the Lions, chomp some villain in the Coliseum versus social media comment sections, right? Because you can have a roar of the arena in a comment section.
Sure you can.
Those are like, you go
why
there
with the post. Absolutely. I've often posted.
People are saying,
I'm here for the comments with little popcorns.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you see that every once in a while, but it's true. It's true. And then what it does also, it's almost like in the arena when you see these comment sections, you're like, oh, that was hilarious what that person said. It wasn't very nice,
Right, but it was a good one.
But just as if you were in the arena in the Coliseum, you're watching whatever massacre. Let's put it like that. But instead, it's a Coliseum. It's in the comments section. And just like you would be afraid to go into that Coliseum and step into the arena, you're sometimes afraid to step into the arena on the comments section.
Absolutely.
You don't want to get ripped to bits, right?
Yeah.
Or like sometimes I'll post something and then you'll get the notification that says, you know, so-and-so responded or so-and-so posted on your whatever. And I don't even bother going back to read them.
Exactly.
The roar of the crowd. Back when Gruden was coaching still for the Raiders, I'd go to some playoff games, and a couple of times we got club seats, and it was awesome. You needed food, you needed a drink.
Next level.
You watch the replay. But I remember thinking at the end of the game, man, I really miss the electricity of the crowd because you could barely hear it. And it just wasn't secluded. It really wasn't the same.
Yep, you're secluded. I'm kind of cursed in that. I mean, I've done it, but it's difficult for me to go to a football game and not be on the sideline. So normally if I go to a football game, I know the coach, I know the team or whatever, and they normally facilitate that. But it is, you know, that's not going to happen at like a Raiders or Niners game. Like
you can really hear the action. You can smell. You can smell the guy sweat. I mean, really. And
just everything, you know, you like seeing, you know, when they get together, the offense or defense on the bench, you know, in between, you know, turnover on the possession or whatever. Again, the players talking, interacting with each other. There's nothing like being in right by the goal line when it's a score happens and on all those good things. So close the lightning round out by contrasting honor culture, you know, like I did it for the honor, you know, versus clout culture. Kind of like then it's about honor, now it's about clout.
Yeah, that's an interesting dichotomy because what even is honor nowadays?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a really interesting, you know, like clout seems to be, you know, what people want because it gives them money-making opportunities and ego boosts and visibility and attention. But when you look at that, you know, it's like, is that really what we want? Like, you know, is that the new honor
for society?
Our society. Again, I don't want to overuse that word art, but it's art versus ego.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a big difference.
There really is.
And egomaniacs like other big egos too. So they'll line up.
Sure.
So let's, we got about, 20 minutes left or something like that. So let's comment real quick about the Coliseum inside us. What need is a spectacle, you know, meeting? Is it about belonging? Is it about adrenaline? Is it about escape? All the above. What does it say about unprocessed anger and stress? And what happens when you don't have healthy outlets to be able to deal with all this stuff? Is that too long of a convoluted question?
No, I think it's spot on. I think, again, it's just a reflection of who we are as humans. We want to see the battle. We want to see the outcome. We want to see the villain. We don't want him overly punished if we're humane. But the point is that we like to see winners and losers. Otherwise, it keeps us all kind of on an even plane, and that's not good.
Participation trophy.
Right. That's not how this construct was built.
It was always designed to make us better, you know, in some way. You know, improve what society already has and see a new athlete that nobody had ever seen before.
Yeah. And then there's this internal competition, right? Because like you may not be good at sports. You may not genetically have an athletic disposition, but there's something out there, you know, that like we talked about, you know, people are capable. You know, but if they don't have the right environment, the right teachers and stuff like that, then they can be categorized as incapable. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that in the beginning, or that they can't change to be capable. Again, that's like a back and forth right there. But
there's one more huge, powerful thing here is that if you're not a strong individual, you're going to naturally want to belong to something else that's bigger and better than you and associate with that. And that's huge.
So you can kind of be a part of it by osmosis.
Yes. I'm a so-and-so fan.
Yeah. And that gets us into trouble. And we were talking about like peer pressure a little bit
That
earlier.
goes back to the identity, which you said earlier.
And what you said too about how this type of thing is designed to make us better. And we've kind of lost that idea. somehow. Like it's like we got to a point, and now somehow we've hit this plateau, and now it's a break that's going downward again. Like I don't, it's weird. It's very strange how people like actively don't want to better themselves in this society. I'm like, what is that? I mean, granted, I was pushed way too hard to overachieve, but there is a happy medium there. Like, humans are kind of born with a certain amount of drive and energy to sustain that. Where did that go?
Kind of like the drug addiction. I need something stronger.
Yeah.
I don't get as high if it's not more violent, if it's not more exciting, if it's not more.
And that's the thing, that we got so hooked into everything being an adrenaline rush or everything being a dopamine hit.
Huge.
That now, like, normal day-to-day shit we have to do, on a regular basis just to exist.
Yes.
Feels boring or whatever.
That's why we have,
and we don't want to do it.
Sports today.
Right.
It's extreme.
Right.
So the kind of a question that I have here is, where are we still living like it's the Coliseum in our relationships at work, while we're driving, online arguments, right? I'm going to say that again. We're still living in a Coliseum, right? Relationships, competition, life versus death,
politics,
work.
I mean, we're being
politics,
pitted, we are consciously, actively being pitted against each other in every arena of our lives.
Driving, road rage,
shopping, for God's sake.
That's
just
true.
Going to the damn store and prices.
If we can predict your reaction, then we can make
we
money.
Can control it.
Mm-hmm.
If we can direct it,
then we got you.
Yep.
So, what does evolved behavior look like when you're triggered?
Evolved behavior when you're triggered.
Evolved
recognizing that you're triggered.
She knows what we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. Like filters. We talked about filters.
It's recognizing,
kind of like managing your emotional outbursts.
Right. Responding versus reacting. It's recognizing that you're triggered, what got you triggered, and choosing your response, regardless of what that is. Your response could still be to freak out.
Right.
But the fact that you consciously chose it instead of let your body pull you into it is the key.
I got it. Okay, what's the verdict, you guys? So thumbs up or thumbs down, and just give us a quick why. Okay, so let's see. Who am I going to do this? Let's. No, I think I know what Art would say. So let's ask Kel this one. So thumbs up or thumbs down. Humans need controlled violence as an outlet.
I don't necessarily know that that's true.
So you would say thumbs down?
I would say thumbs down. When I don't know that violence is that we need control, that we need violence in any way. That we need violence.
It's controlled violence.
Even still, controlled
as an
conflict
outlet. As an outlet.
Maybe.
Like, remember, I think you were commenting one time where we're talking about getting something out, right? And you said, yes, sometimes it's more important to do something physical, go kick a trash can, do something. You did say that. So I think that's the gist of what this is, right?
Okay, I thought you meant to me, violence is something like against another, not necessarily just like an outburst. In that case,
because sometimes the classic thing of getting pissed because your girlfriend broke up and then you hit the wall and now you got to replace the drywall.
Right.
So it felt good in the moment, but it's something that you needed, because it's better to hit that inanimate object than it is to hit a person.
Right.
Or to be able to see somebody play football, get the shit knocked out of him. He's okay, but you getting this vicarious release. Now, you comment, Art, because I think you guys know what I think. I think that, need may be a strong word, but I mean, as close as possible, it's something that we should helpful. Yeah, it's probably we should have it.
Absolutely.
We should have some outlets for people.
Sure.
And so anyway, so tie up that thought.
Good question. I think there's obvious element there that we can't deny, but I think you're right. Need is a little bit strong. There's a desire, I think.
I like it. Okay. Again, I think I know where you guys are going to agree with this. Modern sports are just civilized gladiators. Euphemism. Warriors.
Yeah. Yep.
I wouldn't say
they say competitors, but
I
wouldn't
say it's just, again, I'll keep going back to it. As long as it's artistic. If it's artistic, then it's something we want. But then again, there's that fine line between, hey, bloodlust or art.
Okay. Now, Coliseum style, trash talk is harmless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That's
so.
part of it.
I think so.
Yeah.
It should
It's just
be.
like,
If
in your
you-
face.
If you take offense to it, that's a you problem.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
trash talk has a
Yeah, you
place.
take
It has a
offense to it.
purpose.
You're smart.
It's part of the warfare.
Mhm.
That's
It's a
right.
mental game.
It's a mental. That's part of the psychology.
Think of Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. Yeah, you got to trash talk. I didn't really do that though. I think when Plumber coached us, he didn't want a penalty. Like, and back in the day, if you said something wrong, it's not like today.
You didn't get rewarded for that back then.
These kids get away with a lot of stuff. All right, hey, Kel, this is you. The crowd is more dangerous than the fighters.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Art, if it sells, it shapes culture.
Absolutely.
All right. Contact sports will be viewed as barbaric in 100 years, Kel.
I want to say I hope so.
21, 26.
I'm not so sure.
Okay.
It might be done underground. It
maybe.
might not be in the forefront.
Now, this was Kel's summary from when we did evolution last week. Art, what do you think? Do you agree? Thumbs up or thumbs down? We are evolving, just slowly. Okay. All right.
It's a nonstop thing.
Now, let's talk about some matters of fact or some alleged matters of fact. And this is how kind of sports can be intense, right?
Yes.
Different things in life, it's about intensity, right? And how to enjoy intensity without becoming brutal. What we're talking about here. So first note that I have here is keep it simple. This is advice for fans, kindness. Keep it simple and be grounded, right? Understand that crowds amplify emotion. There's a contagion
Oh, yes.
effect that happens. We talked about that
gosh, yeah.
earlier in the conversation. And we were talking about and how fun it could be, right? And it could also be a negative, type of thing. So just, kind of be simple, keep it grounded. Here's another matters of fact. Now you guys comment on this. High arousal, not that kind of arousal, Art. I know where you're going with that. So high arousal reduces judgment. So again, talk about the life coaching, kind of like the human psychology part about that. Kel, take about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I agree with that. When you're in a state where, your fight or flight's going and, your stress chemicals are all in flight. Yeah, your ability, if you don't consciously pull yourself back, your ability to judge is going to be more, it's going to be less accurate.
Yeah.
The chances are you're going to be less accurate.
Now, Art, you had clubhouse seats. Okay, now imagine that you had those clubhouse seats for season tickets, like every single week, right? So you said you missed being in the stands, though, right?
Because you didn't have the electricity of the roar of the crowd.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a whole different
Now,
element.
Let's say that again. So you had a 1 year of clubhouse seats, and you're like, I missed the other one. So you go back to your old seats, right? And everything's great, and you get to be a little bit more rowdy, with the crowd and stuff like that. But talk about how repeated exposure, which I guess what I'm saying is that, one of those who you associate with, type of thing. Repeated exposure normalizes unacceptable behavior.
I'll tell you how it impacted me.
Mm-hmm.
The last game I went to was a 49er Raider game. It was pregame, Monday night. What I saw happening in the crowd, I just said,
disgusting.
Well, I thought to myself, I could never bring, Matt or Lauren, my kids, to a game like this. Then I took it to the next level. So why are you here? And that was the last.
Asking yourself the question.
It wasn't the game. It was just, am I getting conditioned here? Am I seeing this as normal and looking the other way? Yeah.
That's really insightful.
I like it.
Yeah, even back in the day in Philly, we used to boo Santa Claus, for God's sake.
That's famous.
It was bad. It was bad.
I've seen the movie Silver Linings.
See what she does?
About Philadelphia.
I'll have to.
So from when you ask her if she's ever seen a movie, you have to expect that she's going to say no, and when she says yes, that's when you
I've been to the theater once since 2008.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. See. So just so you know what to expect, Art. Okay. So that's the evolved fan, the evolved human checklist. Okay. So we want to enjoy the sport, a sport, without dehumanizing. Now, there's, again, a fine line between consent and maybe them saying we know that the people like barbaric things. We're going to, of course, not get in trouble with the Federal Trade Commission or not do anything illegal. But we know that the more blood there is, the higher we can charge the ticket price. So be aware of that. Enjoy the sport without dehumanizing. Don't confuse intensity with identity. Watch your rage fuel intake, right? It's a game. Everything's a game. But we can also talk to our social media, scrolling, doom scrolling, things like that. Watch your rage fuel. And then choose a life coach. Like kiss of love here is that you want to choose outlets that build you, right? Something that you can take advantage of, training, art, community service, things like that. So that's kind of like my lectern part of the segment. But you guys, a couple more points here before we exit. What's a one practice that you'd give someone who's addicted to outrage or spectacle? Let's say they spend more money than they should because they have to have their season ticket, also because it's been in the family or whatever. They got to hang on to this. And so what's a practice you would give them? Somebody that's actually addicted to it.
Well, I'd ask them if they want to do something about it, because I can't do anything for them. But I would try to help them understand that there's a healthy balance between emotionally getting connected to a football game, baseball, an event. And then there's a non-healthy where this becomes so important to you that it begins to affect you in negative ways, affect your other relationships too, and you're not enjoying it anymore.
And to me, when it gets to that point, when you are so fixated on something like a sport, what are you running from? Like there's something else there.
That is so true.
That if you're like, I'm so into this football team and my fantasy sports, and I got to go over to Jimmy's on Sunday and Bobby's on Monday and Thursday with Tommy, and we're going to and I got my jersey on and painting the face and the whole thing. What are you running from when you're having to create such an alternate identity?
Man, you're
that's a good one, Kel. That is amazing.
And nobody questions you. Nobody questions that guy.
Yeah.
The cheesehead guy or the Jets guy or what, like that. And it's like, man, what are you covering up? If you have to focus and identify with this type of people and this type of tribe and like all that football or any of the big team sports represent.
I mean,
and then you're getting mad too.
Videotape you.
Yeah. Like, do you
this.
see this? Do you have you seen yourself?
Just went into a rage, or your wife or your kid. And he's like, why is it okay for me?
But everybody else has to tiptoe on eggshells.
The important thing is the awareness. Hey, it's not, it's okay to have a moment if it's the Super Bowl or it's that. I think the thing I love about sports is I love a competitor too. I love what I can learn about the competitor
and the story, the human stories.
Human stories, absolutely. And then back then, the group, things that they would support as a team, or that the individuals would then go out in the community and promote and pay for and things like that. And now it's devolved. And now that everybody knows it's fixed. Like even the diehards, deep down, they may not want to admit it, but everybody knows now it's rigged.
What can we learn from loss?
That's
we'll talk about
idea.
We'll talk about breakups.
That's great.
I like it. Well, hey, you guys, all right. That's what's the matter. Talked about what's the matter with Coliseums today, and the Coliseum didn't disappear. It evolved. So sometimes it's a stadium, sometimes it's a screen, sometimes it's the war that we carry inside. The goal isn't to eliminate intensity, it's to keep our humanity while we live it. So big thanks to World Matters Incorporated, Big Bongo Productions, shout out to KPGF 93.7 FM, and a huge thanks to Mr. Art Arreola for joining us in the studio today. So we're going to be back on a special segment this Friday with a live stream episode on What's the Matter with Comedians, Volume 2. We're going to have local comedian Sammy Swingin' Solorio Stephen Malman to hack it up with us. And so until then, I want you guys to stay curious, stay kind, and remember what you say matters. This is the G-Man for Kel. Until next time, see ya!